Isaiah, the president losing it on social media is not exactly a new thing. But it also, I think, as the challenges that he's facing become more and more serious, it is an issue that the president can't seem to keep his head on straight when we're facing a war, an economy that's unstable, and his party is facing an election in November.
I think ultimately the reason why his numbers are so bad is because he's not focused on anything that anybody cares about. One of the most interesting parts of that poll shows that he's down 8 points specifically with Republican voters when it comes to his handling on the economy. I mean, they look around, they'll see the promises that he made. He said that we'd have $1 and something gas. That never happened. He said that we would have half off our energy bills within the first year of him being in office. That never happened. All these things that he promised has not happened. And so I think people across the country are looking to say, look, this president is not delivering. He hasn't fulfilled his promises, and they want to see something different. I see that's the reality.
Yeah, I mean, on Republicans, as you point out, only 34% in this Washington Post poll say that their financial situation is better now compared to January 2025 when Trump took office. 18% say they're not as well off. 48% say that they're about the same. Meanwhile, the president is using social media. I'm not sure if this is like a teenager or like he is an 80-year-old man. So maybe this is what elderly people are doing on the internet. But it's all these memes of him dealing with the Iran war, guardian of the world, all kinds of things. I mean, Lydia, what is he up? What is he doing?
He is prolific. You can give him that. Look, obviously, it's going to be up to the voters to decide in the midterms. I think that there's things he can point to, Trump accounts, Trump RX, but I think it's going to come down to gas prices as well, which have been coming down, and now we're going up a bit more than I think he would like to see. I think the interesting thing, though, is the incumbent is typically challenged as he heads into the midterms. But in this case, consider the alternative. And the Washington Post has been reporting what Trump voters are feeling, and they feel frustrated. But in the words of one gentleman, he said he's not going to vote for crazy-ass Democrats. So I think that's what it's going to come down to. People may have frustrations that they don't feel as affordability is as much of a focus, and yet consider the alternative. And some of the loudest voices in the Democratic Party now are pushing for the abolition of private property.
Can I just add to what Lydia? Can I just say something about what Lydia said, though, on the challenges? Because you said that this president is entering this midterm cycle with challenges, but a lot of these challenges are self-inflicted. I think when it comes, like he came in, he can take credit for, I think, bolstering the economy in maybe the first part of his opening year. But you look at inflation today. I mean, he was in Michigan, and before the war in Iran, gas was $2.90, and now today it is $4.22. And that is because of this war of choice. And then so you look at that, you look at the price of groceries, you look at the spread of measles, you look at a diarrhea disease, and all around the country, people are wondering, what is this president actually going to deliver?
I don't know that he's responsible for cyclospora.
I think that people want a government that works for them. And when you can't trust what's coming from your government, whether it comes from measles or when it comes from not taking shots, you tell me, RFK is doing
shots is causing the diarrhea disease?
Well, I think that is happening under President Trump. It's not happening under anyone else.
Well, look, okay. I think that what's obvious.
If you were really worried about disease, why were you worried about millions of people crossing the border who didn't have any vaccine?
Well, it's not happening under Joe Biden.
Go ahead, Isaac.
But here's the thing. You made a statement about what's crazy. I think what's crazy is when you have the president of the United States acting like Abe Simpson, going and waving his fist at the cloud on social media and putting tariffs on countries like Canada that we have free trade with. Do you support the tariffs on Canada
if we want to talk about his social media presence, it always has been.
Do you support the tariffs?
It's going to be up to voters to decide what they want to do with midterms.
The tariffs on Canada?
Why does it matter what I support?
Why does it matter?
It's up to voters in the midterms. But I'd say with the AI thing, it really triggers a lot of people, which I think, frankly, he likes to see.
You don't want to.
I think you're right. I think people do like to see that engagement. I don't know that it's
some people like to see him tweeting out a bunch of unhinged
the
AI
base
memes. Is that
likes this.
I think you're right.
But the real question is, again, when prices are up, why is it that this president went and engaged in more tariffs on Canada when we already know that has significant price pressures? Why did he do that, Lydia?
Because it's self-inflicted.
Look, voters are going to have to decide if they think he's doing enough For
Why would he do
affordability,
that?
I'm not here to answer for
The answer
every
is that
single
there is no
policy that
reason.
he
That's what's
implements.
really crazy. And I
Okay.
think that's what voters are going to react to.
It is also, I mean, it's a fair point that the reality of Trump's decision making in this moment is the root of the issue. He is lashing out at all sorts of people, reporters, he's tweeting out memes, but he refuses to stop doing the things like tariffs, like getting into a war that he promised Americans he wouldn't get into, that are causing some of the problems that he's dealing with right now.
I think that if the president was having this negative impact across the entire country, then Democrats would be doing a lot better as the opposition party.
We've
in
won
the
pretty
polls.
much every special election
we're
there
doing
is.
pretty good.
We won in
The current
Kentucky,
generic
we won in
ballots,
Louisiana. Trump's home
according-
state House district has been won
According
by a
to-
Democrat. That's pretty successful, I would say.
According to the last Reuters poll, Democrats
I'm not talking
consistently...
about polls, I'm talking about election
I'm
results.
talking about polls because we're getting closer
Well, we're
to the
talking about
midterms.
election results.
We're talking about the
Democrats
generic
are winning
congressional
those.
ballot, as my point was. If the president is so detrimental to everything, I should see the Democrats skyrocketing in all of the
He's
polls.
losing
and I'm not
almost
seeing it.
every special election there
we
is.
talked about this last week. The recent poll showed that Democrats have overtaken Republicans in terms of who Americans trust to deal with the economy.
Strangely, the
That's
Reuters
something
poll that I've got right here doesn't say that.
Look, not every poll is the same.
Well, then
That's
say
why
you're
we should
citing
be
one
talking
poll
about
my
specific,
point
election
is,
though.
results.
but my
and
point is, there are some polls showing that Trump is losing ground on key issues, especially on the economy, which is typically something that Republicans do well on. When you look at his approval rating on issues from the economy to Iran to trade to immigration, he's underwater on all of those issues.
So I should expect to see voters trusting Democrats over Republicans, and I'm not seeing that
You
yet.
are
I'm
seeing
not
that.
seeing
You are seeing that in
I'm
polls.
not. Again, you're
why
not
we won
seeing
in
these
Georgia,
things.
Hold
why
on,
we
you
won
are-
in
hold
Texas,
on.
why we won in Kentucky, all across this country. Voters are choosing Democratic candidates in special elections. What are you talking about?
The president seems to be extremely fixated on this. I mean, you could argue maybe Democrats aren't paying enough attention. Well, Trump is focused. He
Right.
talks about it virtually every day. He thinks it's the number one issue, curtailing mail-in voting, changing the way states conduct their elections. Why is that the number one issue to him and not actual policy issues that matter to voters, like the economy, like cost of living?
Well, I disagree with the framing of that. I think he is concerned about all of that, but I don't think you have to go back to 2018 or even 2020. I think you have to go back to June with what we saw in the LA mayor's race, where Spencer Pratt was leading, and then weeks after the election.
Oh, here they go again.
Okay.
Okay,
Well, let's
hold
see.
on a second.
You would have
Just
to
to
feel
be
about it.
clear,
Yes,
just to be
absolutely.
clear,
She just asked about the
I
economy.
know there's a lot of polling going on, but that was a multi-way race in which Spencer Pratt was not leading.
Right.
got
He
cooked.
was
Leading on
actually.
election
He lost.
night.
Hold on.
Absolutely.
No.
He lost.
Let me just disabuse you of this notion.
Yeah.
He was running against two liberals who each had a share of the vote that if you add them together were greater than his share of the vote. That is not leading.
I have a question.
That is not how this works.
How is it possible
Spencer
that
Pratt,
Florida
in that
is
same
able to
in that
count-
same state, the Republican who was on the ballot for governor proceeded to the runoff. So again, there is zero evidence.
interesting how that works.
There is zero
But why
evidence
is
that
it-
anything went wrong. I can't even believe you would raise this. There's no evidence.
Abby, can I
Why
say-
won't you bring a case to
Went
court?
wrong
Go
in
back
the
and
LA
Why won't
mayor's
you bring
race,
a case
okay?
to court then? If you
Listen,
think that
hey,
something
you
was
brought-
bad,
something
you brought it
you
up,
can go to
so-
court. First of all, I think
you brought it up, so you got to
I did
Will you
bring it
go to
up, and I
court?
would bring it up 100
offer
times more.
proof
Why
of
has
your
Spencer
wild claims.
Pratt
I just want to say,
not gone to court
Florida,
about this?
Florida is able to count 10 million ballots and
has
get those
Spencer
election results
Pratt
out the
not
same night.
gone to
Why
court
can't LA
about
and all
this?
these
You
other
say that
Democrat
this was
states do
shady.
it?
Why
There
did you
is
do
something
Hold on,
shady
hold on.
about it. There are a lot of questions that other people have.
Okay. So
I think
go to court.
elections should be so transparent. No one has any questions
Why did he not
about
go to
it.
court?
I do think-
But he
Now
doesn't want to
there's-
answer that question. There's a reason for that, though.
I think-
If there
I
was
don't know
something
why
shady-
Spencer Pratt hasn't
Because
gone
there
to
was
court over
nothing
it.
shady that was
Because
going
maybe
on.
he
That's why
doubts
he
the
didn't do
system.
it.
Maybe he thinks the legal system is
think-
broken. He won't get a fair
Oh,
trial.
that sounds like
Okay.
coke if you ask
All
me.
right, go ahead.
Never leave.
I think you're actually
was
illustrating.
absolutely
Coke.
Emil,
Coke.
quick
I
last
I think
word.
you're
We gotta
illustrating
go.
the party's vulnerability here. To the extent you guys are talking about, we have to do something about all these ballots. The way that I would talk about that, if I was a national Democratic leader, is why are they afraid of the American
Right.
people? Why are they afraid of them casting their
right.
ballots? That is what ends up happening
No.
if Republicans keep talking about people voting in what has become a pretty conventional way is something potentially dangerous.